Larry O'Connor Show, AM 790 KABC. I'm live in Washington, D.C., but just for you, Southern California, every day from 10 till noon, taking you to Dr. Drew and Leanne. Joining us right now is Tom Fitton. He's the president of Judicial Watch. Tom, now that the Mueller investigation, which you have been decrying for over a year now and saying, of course, there's no Russian collusion, this is outrageous, it's ridiculous. Now that it's over and you were vindicated in that argument, there's still plenty of questions here, aren't they? And that's specifically about how the Obama Justice Department abused the FISA process.
Oh, in the least. I mean, the FISA process abuse flowed out of earlier abuse by the administration that was spying, the Obama administration that was spying on then candidate Trump. It wasn't just using FISA to spy on him. They were sending informants into his campaign, it looks like, and otherwise trying to take up his records and use other law enforcement techniques and intelligence gathering techniques to target his campaign. And the one FISA warrant that we know about is just one element of that. But the FISA warrant is a big deal in the sense that it unleashed the intelligence apparatus against President Trump in a comprehensive way. And, of course, it was done misleadingly in the sense that the dossier, it turns out, was not evidence of Russia collusion. That you can conclude from Mr. Mueller's report. And they all knew that at the time, of course, because even in January of 2017, James Comey was saying it was minimally corroborated, yet they were still using it to harass the president then, and months later when Rod Rosenstein signed a FISA warrant to help along the Mueller investigation.
Tom, they had to swear to this FISA court, this secret court. They had to swear certain things about the evidence they were bringing to them to get this warrant. You just said they knew all along that this thing was opposition research from Hillary Clinton. You said that they knew the dossier wasn't real. So, I mean, it seems to me if they lied to the court, there should be serious repercussions. Aren't there serious repercussions? And aren't the judges on the FISA court taking that up?
I don't know. The courts haven't seen fit to do that because the courts have been implicated in the scandal as well. It was Judicial Watch that uncovered the really sad fact that the courts held not one hearing on a spy warrant application targeting candidate Trump and then President Trump. There were 4 applications, the original and 3 renewals. 4 different courts heard those applications or considered them and decided not to bring in the government even one time to ask questions, why are we targeting President Trump?
Is that more common than people think? I mean, my understanding, and I've heard in town here, that FISA warrants are often granted. There really isn't much of a challenge. The judges sort of take for granted that if the FBI and the DOJ are signing off on it, it must be real.
You know, I hear half the time, but it's not clear because it's a secret process. I guarantee you it's not a regular thing that the president is being spied on using FISA.
Yeah,
and if that didn't warrant a hearing, I don't know what would have. Why have the courts if that's what the process is?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, what can you at Judicial Watch do to sort of uncover more information on this, expose what happened, and most importantly, keep it from happening again? When I say keep it from happening again, I'm not talking about a president or a candidate. That's bad. But what about just a regular, average, innocent American citizen like Carter Page, who has been, the roadkill in this whole story?
Well, what we do is we use the Freedom of Information Act to uncover what went on, and we do that effectively on the FISA material, getting the warrants, the payments to Steele, the communications Orr had with Steele, specifically Bruce Orr, the DOJ official who was secretly working with Steele to take out President Trump. And we'll continue that. We just filed a lawsuit, I think, last week over Clapper's alleged leaks to CNN and his communications with John Brennan. I mean, I really think, Larry, that Judicial Watch is the way forward on this. Congress is going to be hit and miss. The Senate it's kind of hard to get things done in terms of subpoenas out of the Senate, even though Lindsey Graham's heart, I think, seems in the right place in trying to do more there. The House is more interested in impeaching the president and continuing the coup rather than ending it. So that's why these independent groups like Judicial Watch is the way forward. And you kind of see you can't trust the journalism class either because they were complicit and co-conspirators in this deep state effort to take out President Trump. And Mr. Mueller, he was, whether he wants to acknowledge it or not, he was a tool of the coup plotters. And you had the original effort to destroy Trump during the campaign through spying and figuring out what was going on as part of the insurance policy if he were elected. Then they talked about literally overthrowing the president through the 25th Amendment. Out of that discussion came the appointment of Robert Mueller. So the Mueller phase of the effort to overthrow President Trump is over, but it will have other elements as it continues. And through it all, has been, and if I could toot our own horn a little bit, Larry, has been Judicial Watch, who consistently raised concerns about Mueller from the get-go, raised concerns about the classified leaks targeting Trump, highlighted the corruption there as that being the real issue as opposed to the fake story about Russia collusion, and pursuing dozens of lawsuits to get the truth about what was going on. And no one in Congress wanted to highlight what Mueller was doing as being inappropriate.
Yeah.
But Judicial Watch was virtually alone doing it. And now everyone else is saying that they never liked him anyway. But,
well, and that's why you've been a frequent guest of mine on any platform I can get you on, Tom Fitton, and I do appreciate it. And judicialwatch.org is the website to go to throw a little something in the tip jar to keep their efforts going. We only have a minute left here, Tom, but one person's name is not being mentioned much in this fallout, and that's Hillary Clinton. Let's not forget, this really much of this leads back to Hillary Clinton, her campaign, who created the Russian dossier. And this in particular, when the dossier was first made public the week before the president's inauguration, she and her team knew full well that they were the ones who created that thing, but no one said a word. If they had actually stepped up and been honest and said, yeah, that Russian dossier, we paid for it, we commissioned it, it was our product, that would have changed the tenor of the coverage and of the investigation quite a bit, wouldn't it?
Of course, there wouldn't have been a special counsel targeting Russia. There wouldn't have been any investigations, any FISAs without the dossier. And they needed to keep that secret because they knew it was a political hit job. And my question is, why hasn't Hillary Clinton been asked the sorts of questions we're asking now? Why isn't Barack Obama, who ran the administration, obviously was in on all of this, was briefed on the dossier in the least we know, why hasn't he been asked? Glenn Simpson was asked what he briefed the campaign about, and he cited privileges.
Yeah.
So we still need to figure out who knew what and when in the Clinton gang as we proceed forward. We just can't just let this be the end. We got to push for accountability.
I agree, Tom Fitton, and that's why we have you on. That's why you're doing the great work at judicialwatch.org, and that's why we'll continue to hammer this home. People can't just walk away from this shrugging and say, oh, well, better luck next time. No, this was an abuse of power at every level, and we'll expose it here on The Larry O'Connor Show.